I started the day by assembling the old valves into the 88 cylinder head with new valve seals, then tried testing them. This is an attempt to answer your question, Charlie. I've got CRC oil laying around that valve there. If air came through, I'm sure I'd see it bubble. I've got a air hose here with a rag shoved around it. Air's coming out there. I wrap that up tight, jam it in the port here. You'd expect to see, maybe I can sort of get a... I don't think there's any air bubbles coming through that valve. I've done that a bit more scientifically than what I'm trying to film, but pretty happy with that inlet valve. The other question you had, Charlie, was how does the oil supply to the camshaft work? Well, it comes up through that hole there, which is up from this cylinder head stud, which is sealed. It's got a dome nut on it and a copper washer on the top, which allows oil to flow up through the jug and up through the cylinder bolt there into this section at the end of the camshaft. The end of the camshaft has a hole in it, and that hole there leads to a hole in that first journal, a hole in the first cam, a hole there in the second cam, and a hole there in the journal that was chopped out. Now, I've blown air through all of those passages, and up top here is all fine. The only question is oil coming up that head stud is what I was looking for. It comes up that head stud and this head stud. Those two serve as oil galleries. Further to my investigation into where the oil comes from, it comes up this stud there only. This one, which is sealed with a dome nut and a copper washer internally, is actually open to the air. This hole here next to the exhaust, I can see my finger in there. So the seal on this one is purely to stop oil running out externally through that hole. I was looking, this is the stud that the oil comes up, and it's black and oily. The opposite one that's got the seal and the dome nut on it wasn't oily, and I was worried, okay, well maybe this has got something to do with the problem if that's supposed to have oil coming up it. It obviously doesn't. It's actually external. You can see it next to the exhaust when you're down at this level, looking in this way. But anyway, there's remnants of oil on that stud, and when I took the cylinder head off after just running this motor with the starter motor, there was quite a bit of fresh oil sitting in the cylinder head up near that buggered cam. I've cleaned up this cylinder head. This is the 88, roughly thrown the bits together. Obviously has to come apart again to fit it and put the chain and stuff in it. I've ordered some parts from Suzuki, new chain guides, new head gasket and exhaust gasket. I've stripped all the electrics off the engine. I gave the piston a bit of a buff with a rotating wire scrubber, and it's cleaned up all right. I've got the chain attached there. Now I want to replace, or at least check out, the chain. I've got another second-hand one off the 88 engine that I want to line up side by side. I think this one is torn into the chain guides and things and have been flogging around, so I suspect this one won't get used again. Now I'm modifying my engine mount by mounting these two blocks of wood to the side of it in order to tip the whole engine over onto its right hand side. I can take the left-hand side cover off in the horizontal position, tear into it to get the timing chain out, which involves taking the flywheel off and having a good look to see what else I might discover under the covers. Well, that's the engine up on its right-hand side. There's not a rush of oil coming out anywhere in particular. There's a bit of a drip coming down from the chain case at the front there. Nice fresh oil that I put in. I put in 1.5 litres of fresh oil. The oil seal on the back axle isn't releasing a lot of oil, and the engine's reasonably steady on those blocks, fairly easily removed, maybe used to do the clutch side at a later stage once I've got a crankcase seal I can trust. So now I can launch into undoing all of the bolts. Left hand side case. Well, there it is with the left hand cover lifted. Lost a bit of the main gasket just here, otherwise it was complete everywhere else. Bearings are spinning. Thing feels all right there. That's the stator. There's a bit of black shit down that back corner. A little bit hiding in there. Not much around the bottom of the crankshaft. Next step is to knock the flywheel off. I've taken the nuts that were just sitting on there that holds the recoil starter cup on, and this is a 22mm nut that holds the flywheel down onto the taper, and so that's a 6-point impact, which I'll put the rattle gun on there. I should be able to just hold the flywheel and that'll rattle off. That took a couple of goes. I didn't want the whole thing rotating, otherwise it'd pull the cam chain around. So that's the nut that holds the, there's another piece of oil seal there. We're now ready to fit the, you can see the threads on the bottom there that the puller works on. I'm going to put something on the end of the crankshaft there to protect it from the bolt in the centre here that pushes down on here and pulls up on there. I'm going to put a nut or something on there that protects it while that process is happening. That's my homemade puller in place. Just got to hold the whole thing from turning and just wind that bolt down, which pushes while it pulls. We'll see how we go. I couldn't show you the money shot, but that's it released. That's my hopefully my shaft protection worked okay. Anyway, it's away. I need to get my nut off. With the flywheel removed, I can remove the timing chain. Get out to your shed and have some fun.